What is going on, Zibs? Got a 2013 Honda Civic Si. They make this 13, 14, and 15. Today I'm doing the rear wheel bearing, and although this is a total pain in my ass, I'm gonna go ahead and make 6 or 7 little mini videos and put it all into one so I can show you how to do this. First step, jack the car up. Use jack stands if you're using jacks. Be safe. First thing we need to do, remove the wheel, 19 millimeter sockets. Then second thing we need to do, really the first step of the procedure, is to remove the brake caliper. How we're going to do that is first this right here, okay, this where the hose is, you see where it used to be right there, it's a 12 millimeter bolt. Take that out and then remove the hose, and the reason we're doing that is so that we can have room to simply remove the caliper. 13 millimeter up here. I don't know if my SI is stupid or not, but it was a 14 one down here. So 13, 14, remove those, and then the caliper will simply come off, but it won't because it knows I'm videotaping. There we go. Set that aside. I'm gonna hang it up here in a minute. I'm gonna tie it down here so it's not putting all the weight on the hose. That's first step. Next step is to remove the caliper bracket. That behind here is 2 bolts, 1 and 2, and they're both 14 millimeter. Use your 14 millimeter ratchet. Sometimes when you're putting it on, when you're putting the ratchet, it's very hard to do. Get a rubber mallet and tap right there, or just use your palm of your hand if you got cylinder hands and break them loose, or you can use a breaker bar like this if necessary, but cars should be new enough to where you don't have to do that. Loosen the bolts, that'll fall right off. Probably hit my foot. I try not to do that. So there's one, and there's 2. Probably should invest in a tripod, but you guys aren't paying me enough for this. So there goes the caliper bracket. Now usually the caliper bracket would have the pads still on them, but for whatever reason my pads came off on when I took the actual caliper off. Not a big deal. If they were still stuck on here, you would either leave them there or remove them. So we're going to put this aside for now. Bolts. Also a good chance to pay attention to your pads, and these are in good shape as you can see. The next step will be the rotor, which actually I might not have to make another video. I think I just need to pound it, but once I get that verified, I will get right back to you. Alright, Zib, so indeed I needed to hammer the shit out of it with a rubber mallet. Hit it real hard here as I'm turning. I wanted to show you something actually. Listen to this bang. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's bad. It makes a humming noise, you can tell. Anyway, so mine doesn't have these 2 screws because the person who replaced the brakes before me is a brilliant individual and didn't put them back. Brilliant, I mean in a good way, because these are a pain in the ass to come off. Anyway, if your screws are still in here, you'll need something called an impact screwdriver. It's a screwdriver with a thick rear end, and I'm not trying to make any jokes, but like a thick part where you can hammer it, and you hammer lightly and you turn, and it will remove those screws. Anyway, so that's the next step. So the next step was simply remove your rotor. If it's a good rotor, which this one is, you're just going to leave it here for now. And next thing, we're going to be removing this. Simple so far. Stay with me. Alright, next step. I swear you Zibs need to pay me for this shit. Pretty detailed video. Toot my own horn over here. Alright, check this out. So now we have 1, you see, 1, 2, and then at the bottom here we have 3, and the one right above it, 4. So there's 4 right here. See, 1, just a new part, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 bolts holding it up, and this is how I remove them. I don't like to put a lot of stress on my ratchets. You know, I could just put the ratchet in here and then take the rubber mallet and do that, but it's not good for the gearing system in here. So I use something like this, which is solid. It's a 14 millimeter, by the way. Okay, lefty loosey, so you're going this way, that way. And I simply took my mallet and pop, pop, pop until I got it loose. I did that times 4. So the one on the top, hook it up, same thing, hit from the bottom, pop, 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 it pop loose. Now this one back here, where you at? Right there, okay? You put that on, and then you hit from the top to the bottom. That's how, because it's lefty loosey, right? So pop, 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 and then that'll come off. And then the one on the very bottom, I found it easier to just do that. Okay, see, I got it right there from the bottom, and then hit to the right, or no, not to the right, to the left. Hit that way, and that'll loosen that. So then I'm gonna grab my wrench now that they're loose, and the wrench won't really have to do any work. I'll grab that 14 millimeter, take these 4 off, and I'll come right back to you when I'm done. See what I mean? Very easy now that it's loose. And if you pay attention right there, that's the one we're loosening. Let's keep going. I've got 3 out of 4 done. The last one is going to be the trickiest one. We'll do that one together. And this is what the bolts look like. They're kind of long, so here. All right, now the last one. I'm going to do that with a gear wrench. So I'm going to grab a 14 millimeter gear wrench. Not this one. This one is not a gear wrench, but I think that's going to be the best way to do it, because I tried to put the ratchet inside right there, and there's just not enough clearance. So I'm going to grab a 14 millimeter ratchet that's inside here, and it's going to keep doing that. And once we're done that, this will come right back off. All right, here we go. So I've got it loose enough to where the gear wrench, you see the gears, okay? Let me put that in. There we go. And you're just gonna simply keep going. You can see it turning right there. You're gonna keep doing that until it comes off. I'm not gonna sit here and make you wait, but I wanted to show you using a gear wrench. All right, ladies and zibs, this is the most annoying part. Believe it or not, this is my first time doing a wheel bearing. So usually after we did all that, the 4 bolts come out, usually this just comes out, but this one is seized on here. So I've taken some PB Blaster and I put it all in there as much as I can, and I have just been hammering here, left and right. As you can see, it's about to come out. It would have been a lot better, honestly, had I removed the shield, because then I can hit from the back, but I was too lazy to remove 1, 2, 3 10 millimeter nuts there, and that would have removed the shield. But anyway, I'm being patient, and I'm hitting side to side. As you can see, it is starting to come out. I've also used a hammer and a chisel, and put the chisel back in there, and just be patient with it. Keep going, don't hit it too hard, and eventually it will come out. So I'm going to keep at it with 2 hands, and I'll show you when the bearing is out. Okay, so yeah, definitely should have been it would have been a good idea to take this out, but also wanted to show you this. It's a longer pry bar that I just put in here, and keep prying from each angle, and as you can see, it is about to fall out. So pry bar, if everything else fails. Well, after about 10 minutes of hammering my forearms away, we are out. And there it is, your bad wheel bearing. God bless Honda for making things extremely simple. Alright, now gotta clean all this off pretty good. Put the new one in. Alright, you're gonna line up the new one and make sure that there's an O-ring right here. You see that plastic or that rubber O-ring right there? Make sure that's in there on the new one. And you're gonna line it up correctly. It only goes in one way. They're kind of offset, so make sure, if you see that they don't match up, obviously turn it around. You're gonna put the new ones in. I put a very tiny bit of grease on here. You're probably not supposed to, but just because they were they were seized up and gave me such a hard time, so put it in, and then you are going to tighten them to something like between 42 and 47 foot-pounds, so not very tight. I'm actually just going to do it by hand. I remember how hard it was, so I'm just going to do it by hand, even though that's not recommended. You should get yourself a torque wrench and do that. I'll probably grab one and stop being lazy. Put the 4 in, and then I don't know if I'll continue the video or not. It's basically the reverse steps of what need to happen. Once you tighten this, you're going to put the rotor back in. Bam. If you have those 2 screws that were there, put those screws in. Do not tighten them all the way. Then the next step is the caliper bracket. What is that right there? That's going to go back in right there. I think it was 14 millimeter. You're going to tighten that. I don't know the torque specs on that, but that one just, you know, snug, a little bit past snug, like one little past snug. Caliper then goes on. You may, if the only thing I'm thinking of ahead of time here, if you find that the pads won't, once you put the pads on the caliper bracket right there, if you see that the caliper itself won't slide, you may need to press this piston. You need a special tool for it. You see how it's across? It's not just your traditional piston press. You need to get a one of those the cross-threaded piston presses. Look it up online. You'll see what I mean if that doesn't go in. But we didn't do anything. I didn't pump the brakes. The e-brake is off, so it should, just like it came out, should just go back in, and you should be good to go. Put the wheel back on. I'm gonna do tires next, but put the wheels back on, torque them down to I think 90 foot-pounds, 95 foot-pounds. That I know. And then you're done. And there it is, wheel bearing on a 2013, 2014, 2015 Honda Civic SI. Peace, libs. Salam alaikum. Alright, I thought I was done. You guys can't get rid of me. Put a 1 lug nut here. I put the rotor back 1 lug nut just to kind of hold the rotor in place. I have installed the caliper bracket back in. Remember those 2 bolts, 14 inches. The only reason why I wanted to show this was clean here. Okay, you can clean here with just like a small wire brush or something, and then you're gonna put your pad in like so. Okay, perfect. And the other pad back here. Usually the rear pad has this little lever here, just for, obviously if you're unfamiliar with what pad goes where, follow the curve of the rotor, right? Like obviously this would not go here. That's not how the rotor curves. You see the rotor curves in a circle like that. So put the other one in here. Okay, and once that is in flush, you'll take your caliper, put it in. Sometimes you gotta also make sure these are loose. Okay, this car's for sale, so I'm not doing like a whole lot, but usually I would remove these and put some grease in here, but they're perfectly fine. They're moving, as you can see. So you're gonna put the caliper back on, and I'll show you here in just a second. See, in right there, and then you're gonna come on here. Don't forget this gentleman right here. I'll show you everything. It's like, okay, see this gentleman right here. You're gonna put it snap back in place. 10 millimeter bolt. You're gonna tighten these down. Not very tight on these. Just when you're snug, you're good. No or anything like that. And once you've got that tightened up, you're gonna remove this, put the wheel back on, go inside your car before you start it, pump the brakes 3 times. Okay, before you start the car, pump the brakes 3 times, then start it, go on a test run, and congratulations, you have just installed your first wheel bearing, rear wheel bearing, on a 2013 Honda Civic SI. Salam alaikum. I gotta keep remembering shit. Since we've been pretty much bobbing the hell out of this left and right, make sure it's not touching the rotor, you know, being bent. All that hammering we did, and just kind of push this back, push this brake shield back like that, so that when you spin the rotor, it's free, like so. Okay, final. Salam alaikum.